Hi everyone, today we are here to ask and answer one simple question: is Sawyer Klatt natty or not? For those of you who don't know Sawyer Klatt, he runs a small fitness YouTube channel. Right now he's only sitting at about 6.6k subscribers, has about 10k followers on Instagram. But what has put him on some people's radar is that he's able to deadlift 700 pounds at only 18 years of age. So he has some pretty damn impressive lifts. He also seems like he's made some very fast progress. He's only been lifting for about 3 years. So some people are questioning his natty status. So we're going to take a look at the progress he's made, his overall physique, see if there's any indications physically that he's on steroids, and also look at his strength, his lifts, and see if we can come to an accurate conclusion as to whether or not he's natty. Now, first off, there is one thing that I find very suspicious. Sawyer Klatt uploaded a transformation video to his channel showing off some of the progress he made, but when it came to some of the shots of his lower body, he censored out his d***ing balls. Now, everyone knows that the to ball ratio test is the most accurate testing method for steroid use, so I think he's trying to hide something here. I think his hangs a lot lower than his balls, and he's trying to hide the fact that it's because of steroids. So, Sawyer, if you want to prove to everyone you're natural, show us your and balls. Now, to be fair, looking at Sawyer's physique, I can't say there are any telltale signs of steroid use. I don't think anyone would disagree that his physique is obtainable naturally. Even for somebody his age who's been training for the same length of time, I've seen people have a physique like that at around 18 years of age with just a few years of training. Now, his Instagram photos do look pretty impressive, but it's Instagram. Everyone, uses the best angles, the best lighting. They always have a pump. They take 1,000,000 photos to get the best one. So when you look at his videos, he doesn't look quite as big and bulky and round. He still looks big and strong, but it's not the same as his Instagram photos. And on the Instagram, yeah, I can kind of see how people might think, okay, this guy's pretty young, he's looking pretty round and full, but in his videos he looks like a bit of a leaner, more athletic physique. So can't say based on his muscle mass that there's really any good indication that he's on steroids. Also, after I went through some of his transformation videos and his Instagram, it seems that he's made pretty steady progress since he started lifting. There's no point in time that I can see where he was just making, normal steady progress, then all of a sudden, boom, his size strength just totally exploded. So no, there's nothing in terms of the rate of progress he's made that would indicate steroid use. You do have to keep in mind too, he started lifting when he was 15, and it looks like around that time, puberty just hit him like a ton of bricks. When he first started at, around 15, he looked like a kid, even in the face. He had a very young, childish face, and then just a few months or a year later, looks like he, just went through puberty. His face looks more adult. He has a more pronounced jaw. So I think just going through puberty around this time also had a pretty significant effect on his physique and strength. So don't think you can so easily blame it on steroids. And again, I'm seeing a lack of side effects from steroids. So one of the very common side effects of steroid use is gynecomastia. I don't see gynecomastia on Sawyer. His nipples are just normal little nipples. But again, with the gynecomastia, I doubt that Sawyer would be able to source steroids and know how to use them properly, and I doubt that somebody who's 15, 16, 17 would have access to not only steroids and whatever other substances you need to manage side effects like aromatase inhibitors to prevent gynecomastia, and someone who would be able to teach him how to use it. So again, the fact that he's made pretty consistent progress, he's not like insanely huge or anything. He's made progress that's reasonable for a natural lifter with good genetics and, just a good work ethic. and he's lacking any of the telltale side effects of steroid use. Now, when it comes to Sawyer's strength, however, it's a different story. Like I mentioned earlier on, he can deadlift 700 pounds. That's been his best deadlift so far. That is extremely impressive for a natural, especially when you consider he's only 18 years old, he's only been training for 3 years. So yeah, not your average 18-year-old who's been training for only a few years can deadlift 700 pounds. So that raises some eyebrows. His squat is also 500 pounds. I think that's his best squat so far. Also a really impressive lift considering his age, the time he's been lifting. But there is a big discrepancy between his upper body and lower body lifts. He's only been able to bench 315 so far for a 1-rep max, and if you look at the footage, it was a really, really nasty lift. He bounced it off of his chest, it was a real grinder, and his ass also lifted off the bench, so technically it's not really a valid lift. So, since there's this big discrepancy between his upper and lower body, I think that's an indication that he's not actually on steroids. Normally when you take steroids, it really affects your upper body a lot because most of your androgen receptors are around your traps, shoulders, chest. So if he was on gear, I'd expect to see a little more consistency between all of his lifts, but even when you take a look at the gym footage, for pretty much all of his upper body lifts, when he's pressing, when he's doing overhead pressing, when he's training back, there's nothing that really stands out like, oh damn, this guy's on gear. And don't get me wrong, he's strong for an 18-year-old, he's still strong for a guy who's only been training this long, but he's not like steroid strong when it comes to his upper body lifts. So I think what's going on here is he's just genetically gifted, especially with his lower body lifts. He probably has some sort of mechanical advantage, or maybe his leg muscles are just particularly strong or something like that. But because there's this big discrepancy there, I doubt it's steroids. Now, I do think there is still a bit more to discuss. I've looked around some online forums, and a lot of people are mentioning that, hey, maybe he's not on steroids, but it's possible that he's taking SARMs. A lot of people are also pointing out that he has remained very lean all throughout this fitness journey. There's no point where he went on like a bulking cycle, gained a little bit more body fat, and then cut down. He's remained lean throughout this entire period of time, which is very difficult to do as a natural, especially when you're making the kind of strength progress he's made. And this brings to mind David Lade, who also went through a relatively similar transformation where he started off pretty small and skinny, and he just started getting bigger and stronger. He never bulked, he never got a bit puffier, he always stayed really, really lean, and he kept making these really impressive PRs. And I did make a video on David Lade, I think a couple years back, and I think it's pretty obvious that David Lade was experimenting with SARMs. So I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that Sawyer could have gotten a hold of SARMs. Even though he's still a teenager, he's probably still living at home. If his parents aren't diligently watching his online activity, he could have just ordered these SARMs online. He might have also had friends that could have hooked him up with SARMs, who knows. And there are other really young guys on YouTube, like Ryan Casey, who is also a teenager, and he still managed to get a hold of SARMs. So again, it's not outside of the realm of possibility that Sawyer could also get a hold of SARMs. And I think it's also important to note that Sawyer seems to be pretty sensitive to criticism. He actually mentioned in one of his transformation videos that what really drove him to keep pursuing weight training and work harder was the criticism he received from his peers. He was talking about how people would make fun of him for not being very big or strong and making fun of his physique. And looking at Sawyer Klatt's content, you can't help but see parallels with David Lade. I think Sawyer is trying to emulate David Lade and follow his pattern of success. Being a fitness model, being in the fitness industry, just making money off of social media just for working out, doing something you do anyway because you enjoy it, that is very attractive to a lot of people. And I don't know, like a young kid like Sawyer, maybe he'd be kind of egged on more to try something like SARM so that he can get to the same position David Lade is at. I don't know. It's all things to think about, but if I were to, if I had to guess, I would say more than likely Sawyer Klatt is just natural. It's a possibility that he's tried SARMs or other performance-enhancing drugs. Again, some of his lifts are extremely impressive. He's made some really good progress. But I think Sawyer should probably just make a video about this, discuss it. I don't think he'd be judged negatively if he just came out and admitted, like, no, I'm not a lifetime natural. Maybe that'd get him in trouble with his parents or something, but I don't think anyone would really judge him harshly for it. But tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Do you believe Sawyer Klatt is natty or not? And if you like this video, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon or through my website. I have some funding perks you may find interesting. If you're looking for clothing, then check out the Vegan Gains store. And if you're looking for online coaching, then check out Quality Gains. He offers customized meal and training programs. And as always, keep making those vegan and natty gains.
What a relief! When will this poisonous product cease? This is another public service announcement. You can believe it or you can doubt it. Let us begin now with the cow. The way it gets to your plate and how.